Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started here with defensive coordinator Andrew Thacker. We'll open it right up for questions for Coach Thacker. Please use the raise hand function within Zoom. If you have a question, we'll call on people individually, beginning with Rod McKenzie from 247 Sports.
Hey, Andrew. Good morning.
Hey, Rod.
Hey, when you look at Notre Dame's offense, in the beginning of the year, they featured the run with Williams, one of the better backs in the ACC, and their last game, they showed off their passing game. So I imagine that gives you a lot to think about going into the game. You can't dwell on just one phase of their offense.
Sure. They've got elite talent in their roster, and you look for somebody with a pro-style mentality. You look for somebody to take away. Who's the running back? Who's the one wide receiver? Who do you want to double? This past week, we had a decent idea of who this is. You look at this roster, and it's not replete of talent. It's all over the place. So there's a handful of really good tight ends in the country. They may have 4 or 5 of those, 5 of the 20 or 25 in the country. Big, physical outside. That was the best that they've caught the ball. Competitive situations, going up high, pointing catches out on the perimeter, and then they've got a stable of backs. It's like you want to take away one back, but they've got a stable of them that all have different skill sets. The quarterback's been there a while. He's a seasoned guy, a veteran. I was watching a TV copy to get a feel for their tempo and saw his overall record. It was something 24-2-ish. You just kind of realize the amount of games and big-time games that he's played in. So one of the more talented rosters in the country. So to your point, as always, we try to establish the run first and then try to be competitive in every situation and lock down on the outside. But they are talented all over.
Next question comes from Kelly Quinlan from Rivals.
Hey, Andrew.
Hey, Kelly.
I was curious about going back and looking at the game, the Boston College game. It seemed like there were guys in position to make plays. Maybe they cheated on an assignment and started looking at the wrong guy or doubled the wrong guy, or you had a play where 2 guys took an inside receiver and left the guy on the sideline open. It's just kind of, are you seeing any kind of tread with the mental errors as the guys just trying to help each other out when a play gets extended? Is there anything in particular you point your finger at kind of some of those struggles especially on third down?
Sure, I can. I mean, obviously, we can all point our fingers at a lot, and I certainly won't do that to any kids. I know exactly the play you're talking about. Let's just take that one for an example. It was a third down situation. They motion, they create movement. When they create movement, that makes us have to talk and communicate. So with a coverage assignment in that situation, we had something that we had practiced, something that we had prepared for, we had a plan for. The kids executed during the course of the week in intense situations, in moments that are critical in the game, specifically third down when we have to have urgency. They've got to execute in that situation. In that moment, they did not. So what do we have to do as coaches? We have to go back. We have to communicate what the error was. We have to be honest with them, and we have to practice the exact same scenario. That exact play, I know exactly what you're talking about. We practice that exact play. It's not something that Notre Dame is actually running, but it's something that if they see a flaw in film, we need to fix that. Our goal after this game, obviously, is to be better every single week. They have a type of offense that will look to see where we've had weaknesses in the past and repeat those or copy those things. They don't carry the same plays every single week. They look to see flaws. So when we see a flaw, we've got to go back and prepare for that. In that situation as well, we had a free runner to the quarterback. Somebody was completely scotch-free on a blitz, and we didn't get him down. So how do we coach better? How do we teach better? Not how do we blame that player for not going to play in that moment. How do we coach that player better? He went high for the sack. His arms were high in this situation. He didn't get down on the legs. We talk about with quarterbacks attacking the football in the pocket right there, and that quarterback made an elite play. He stepped to the right there. He kept his eyes downfield with a 6-man pressure, and he was able to execute a throw in a pressure third down situation. So we want our guys to be able to do that, and we want to give them every tool possible to not make them feel bad about themselves, to make sure that they clearly understand their mistake so that we do not have it again.
Next question comes from Ken Segura from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution.
Hey, Andrew.
Hey, Kim.
I'm going to kind of follow up on what Kelly was asking. It seems like, the last a number of games this season, not just the defense, but the team has fallen behind early, obviously getting a hole in it. But it seems often like, is it your kind of assessment that a lot of it is self-inflicted mistakes that are, like you're saying, allowing third downs being converted or big plays to happen as much as, whatever it is your opponent's doing?
Yeah, we want opponents to earn drives. We want them to earn the game, and something we have to stop as a collective team, as a defense, as an offense, as a collective team. We have to start fast. It is what we preach, and then we have not done that in the 2 previous games specifically and over the course of the season. So we can't wait to respond. Our kids are motivated. They're having great weeks of preparation. I know Coach talked about that. They had an unbelievable response today, our best team run period of the entire season with the most energy today. They are preparing. We have to start fast. How do we fix that? We fix that through preparation. We fix that through messaging, and we bring to a reality of why, that is not happening. We've got to be honest with ourselves as coaches. We have to be honest with our young men and a collective team. But getting behind, then human nature falls in. And what does human nature make you do? It makes you want to do more and overcompensate for someone else when you're behind or when you're facing adversity. So we've got to preach through that. We've got to teach through that and not allow that to happen. When we've been in games and in tight spots and we get into second halves and there's competitive situations, we play our freaking tails off, and effort is not the key and not the issue. So the urgency on the front end, the starting fast, the communication, the discipline, all the coaching cliches, they have to start earlier, and we have to start fast so we don't put ourselves in that situation.
Next question comes from Rod McKenzie from 247 Sports.
Hey, Andrew. Coach talked about Emmanuel Johnson and Akilo Stone a little bit. And, of course, naturally, you've had some attrition up there up front. How are they progressing in terms of maybe making some contributions to the latter half of the season?
They are going to be in the mix, so there is no secret there. Both of those 2 young men will touch the field on Saturday versus one of the best offensive lines in the country. I can't wait to see them go in there and compete and battle their tails off. That development from where they started when we got them late in the summer because of all the circumstances to where Emmanuel is right now. It was amazing. Neat story today. Today was a Tuesday practice. It is our most physical practice. Larry Knight, our defensive tackles coach who coaches Akilo, the offense came over and said, hey, can you guys take Akilo back over here? He's disrupting some plays, playing his tail off right there. Y'all take him back over to their side. He literally earned his way off of the developmental, what most people would say was the scout team, back over to the ATL to be able to get a bunch of reps because he had the right response over on that end and because he's putting those guys to work, our front end, our ATL offensive line to work. So it's great to see his development, great to see him have the right attitude as he's over there in tough circumstances. And then Emmanuel Johnson is a guy that we've moved around. He's been a defensive end, and then we're going to try to move him inside. He is a heavy-handed 260, growing to be 270-pound, only scratching the surface of what he knows about football. So it is fun to watch him develop as coachable of a young man as you'll see. And now Larry Knight has his hands on him, so we'll have an opportunity for him to be inside. So it was fun to watch him play over on our field, on the ATL field today.
Time for a couple more for Coach Thacker. We've got another one from Kelly Quinlan from Rivals.
Andrew, tackling seems to be probably worse than ever this season, just in across college football. And I imagine a lot of that has to do with just the way you guys prepared and the less contact and not having a spring and those kinds of things. How can you kind of coach that up without, overworking the kids in season to kind of clean that stuff up?
Yeah, we use the word overwork. We have to work it. We have to work it. There's technique to it. A lot of people, you see something and make the tackle. That's not a coaching point. Make the tackle is not a coaching point. How did you miss? What was your body positioning? What was the leverage? Who were you complimenting? Who were you working with? Was it a compression tackle where there was 2? Was it an open field tackle where you were the only tackler? Where did you place your eyes? Where did you place your shoulder? Where did you wrap and squeeze? What was your entry point? So we're teaching all those things. We put together the clips of the tackles that we missed in open space. Why did we miss them? 9 times out of 10 when the ball gets in space, it is leverage. And in football terminology, that is the angle with which they're taking to the football where it's cutting back on the field. There's elite people in space in college football. You see a lot of points being scored. You see a lot of missed tackles. I understand that piece, but there are teachable actual techniques and angles and specifics that we can give them so they can improve on those situations. When they get back to the moment of truth of the tackle, of a really tough tackle, how do they do that? Then the next piece is just effort to the football. And we do that. We can't get worn down. We can't have an excuse. We can't be a victim of circumstance. We have to continue to run to the football because if an elite offensive player makes someone miss, just like our offense does, then it has to be a collective overlap of the defense to get to the football. So as always, it's effort to the football, which is a tangible thing. And then there's actual tangible coaching points that we're trying to get across. So we're not shying away from it. There's thud periods today in team run versus our A offense, versus our first offense. When we go over to the developmental period, we are doing the same thing. The first man in, he thuds, he wraps. If he goes to the ground, well, it better not be a roll tackle so you don't friendly fire your teammate. But if he goes to the ground, well, and you're playing fast, we'll live with it. And then the next multiple defenders that come through, they're stripping and clubbing for the football. We had a sequence in the season where we were attacking the football, we were creating takeaways. It was unacceptable for us to not create a takeaway in this last game. Thought we had one on the first drive. They reviewed it and said that his knee was down in that situation. So whatever excuse that the global pandemic and all that could have had on the front end of it, we've got to teach it, we've got to execute it, we've got to practice it so that thing does not show up on the field.
Okay, time for one more for Coach Thacker, and it'll be from Ken Segura from the AJC.
Andrew, you mentioned the Notre Dame tight ends and Hunter Long. I feel like you did a pretty good job with it. Not, I'm sure you could have done better, but with tight ends, when they are able to hurt defenses, it seems like it's often a matter of just somebody who kind of sneaks off the line. But when you guys have defended well and when you haven't, what have been the differences, against the tight ends?
Yeah, I'll answer your question, but theirs are, a lot of times tight ends have a profile or get pigeonholed. Every NFL team is looking for the total tight end. Obviously, who can block on the line of scrimmage? Are they bigger, heavier-handed? Supplementing the offensive line and being able to run duo, double teams, down blocks, and be physical and heavy-handed. And then there's certainly the flex Y tight ends that are out in space and are route runners. For the amount of tight ends they have that are dual guys that can do both, it is as impressive of a tight end roster. Their tight end youth thing is there's some reality to that. So the multifaceted, multi-purpose guys that they have that have both skill sets is really impressive. So there's such a collection of them. This past week, Hunter Long was a fine blocker, but you knew that on passing situations, on third down situations, his dominant trait is he had ball skills, and we could key on him. And in fact, on one third down, we got off the field, we doubled him on that play and was able to get off the field to take him out of that situation. This week, because of their base personnel being 12 personnel, being 2 tight ends on the field, you have to be able to adjust. Now within which tight ends on the field, that matters as well. They have guys that are more pass catchers in certain situations, and we've got to be keyed into that. But all of them have a very good dual capacity to block and run and make you have your hands full. Their best personnel grouping is 12 and 13 personnel when they have all those guys on the field.